discussion with legislation 20 RL 26-26. And it is in finance with Chair Kavanaugh.
Okay, I think Chief Gardner is here.
Oh, I forgot the presenter, Chief Gardner. Sorry.
Come on down. We have transfers for our most common items, overtime and electricity.
Yeah, so this is an ordinance to amend the 2025 fire budget to account for lines over budget and expected over budget items. And as you said, it's the items are holiday pay, out of title, overtime, electricity, gasoline, and diesel.
We've the overtime pay is coming pretty darn close to all of the unused salaries in the department. Are we we have a plan to keep a tighter eye on this coming year? Or we have any particular significant reasons for this amount of overtime this late in the year?
Yeah, I mean, this year was kind of unique. We had the line of duty death in February, and that accounted for a significant amount of overtime. And we had the usual contractual items like sick time, family leave, union business, shift overrun, workman's comp, line injuries, paternity leave, shift manning, second alarm fires, fire investigation, city-sponsored special events, training, paramedic, continuing medical education. They're just some of the items that generate overtime. Our training class also generates a decent amount of overtime with our training instructors. We have to bring in because the state requirements, they require more and more instructors. As far as how many students you have, like a group of 5 or 6 students require one instructor for certain days and certain drills, and that's basically what's accounted for the increase in overtime last year.
And we had more folks, and they're almost $28,000 in holiday pay. So it's different than. That's for working holidays. Yes, not taking vacation time, right? That's it.
Correct.
Right. And again, I mean, do we not know what coverage we need during the holidays before we're going into the year? I mean, it seems like.
What coverage we need in holidays?
Like, I mean, X number of people on a shift, X number of holiday days that we could pay for. Like, it seems like it would be more predictable than a $30,000.
Yeah,
$28,000.
I'm not. We any data on that, Chuck?
No, basically we kept the budget the same for holiday pay. So it's probably just because we didn't count for the raises. Because it's been flat for the last few years ever since we started with the new holiday that came out. What was it in June? Juneteenth. Yeah. So for the last couple of years, it's been stayed the same. We need to tick that up.
Okay. Count for raises and new holiday. All right. Anyone, any other questions?
The only question I think I have, I'm trying to remember if I asked you this in budget season or not, but I was expecting the overtime because we've already kind of been over that, but having close to $500,000 in unused salaries, is that just from is there vacancies or in the department?
Yes, this year, there you are. This year, it's mostly unused salaries from vacancies throughout the city, but he had enough to cover his overtime budget.
How many vacancies is that? Right,
I was pulling it up.
okay.
So there were, I don't have a number, but I can start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 14 open positions through when they started the academy, or started on April 1st.
Yeah.
Right? And then he still had five plus another one that came off this year. 6, 7. And then there were various fire lieutenants and fire captains throughout the year. It's not totaled by department on here. It's just line items. I can send you the spreadsheet.
Sure, that'd be great. But you're saying there's 14 open right now? Or
Well,
more than that?
Probably in March, we're going to be hiring 15,
Okay,
I believe.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we know how many retirements we had through the end of the year?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Retirements.
Yeah, by the end of the year, or
We have actually, we had retirements going on. I think 3 of them in January. And it's, and we've had a few from last year. And we also had the, we have to count for the 8 we hired for the grant, the Assistant Firefighters Grant. So all in all, we're going to hire about 15 in March.
any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Well, not yet. This
Sorry.
is marked for expedition. Do we have a motion to expedite?
All motion.
Second,
Any discussion? Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel. Aye. Councilmember Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Council members Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thank you, Clerk. RL 26-26 is now expedited for Wednesday's business meeting. And thank you so much for your time. Have a good night,
Chief.
Chief. And now we have RL 26-24. This is going to be presented by Councilmember Rathmel, and the presenter is Chief Ryan. John Ryan, can please come down.
This is RL 26-24, resolution to accept grant funds from New York State DHS for regional explosive detection for the, regional explosive detection K-9 team.
Yes, this is a grant from New York State Department of Homeland Security. This is not an expansion, continuation of the grant. It goes to support K-9 operations, or basically what is a bomb dog or bomb dogs. We have 2 that are certified in the department. They're utilized in a variety of ways, both in the city, and then attached to that grant, there's some regional obligations. If someone had a bomb threat within the greater area or some adjoining counties, then there's a zone which they would respond to and assist.
I had a
Believe-
question. Oh, sorry. How many units canine do you
Is it
have?
a-
Like how many?
There's two bombed canine units. So the dogs are certified by certain types of state certification for certain types of canine work. So whether it's a bomb explosives dog or a tracking dog or narcotics certified, they have various certifications as
So
far
they're
as.
trained for certain things.
Right. So two of our city dogs are trained for explosives.
Sorry.
I believe these dogs have responded to calls that council has made, so I appreciate these dogs. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How long have we had this, the explosive canine? How long has that been
We've had
purview?
explosive canine program for a number of years. I don't want to say exactly how many, but this has been a continued grant. And then predating this grant, we've had explosive dogs trained on our own without grant funding, or at least one. I think it's good practice if you have multiple dogs to have one that's certified for those purposes.
The last one we've had one in 13 is the earliest one. That was like 2 years after Munis started. So I'm sure we had one as when Munis started, and then it's been continuing ever since.
I have one from 2011
Oh,
in the Ledge database.
okay.
I think it became a bigger issue like in post 9/11 era where it was the greater need and identified need at that time.
Absolutely. And there's officers, like, are the dogs assigned to a certain officer? Okay.
Yeah, each dog is has a canine team is what it's called, and it's a police officer and then their canine partner. They live and train with that sole officer. They take the dogs to their residence and they're with them all the time. They only work with that particular officer.
Good. Good. Thank you. I never knew they lived with them. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat.
All right.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Well, thank you so much. And you can stay right there because you have one more. We are going to, this is in finance with Chair Kavanaugh. It is RL 26-25. It's an ordinance to amend the 2025 police budget for over budget lines.
Right. Okay. So Chief, I mean, the major item here is overtime. Do you want to go into some operational details on where we're looking to exceed our overtime budget by almost $300,000 this year?
Right. The majority of those expenditures are to cover manpower and staffing shortages, primarily in the patrol division for patrol shifts when they are short below their required minimum staffing as per the standing CBA with the union and the city. So there's minimum shift numbers on each shift. If they fall below that, they will fill it with overtime or comp time in officer's choice. If no officer is willing to work, then they become mandated and they're forced to work. And that's a different rate as well. So the majority of the manpower shortages and the overtime costs for mandated overtime, I think is what put that over the cap there this year, fueled by the fact that we're below staffing overall within the department.
With the academy class that came in, are we looking at a shorter gap next year, or is it a smaller gap next year, or
Well,
this year now, this
y-
year, right?
Yeah, so the timetable for an academy class, so to revert back to like March of 25, we started the academy in the negative as it was. We weren't able to staff all of our positions. We had lost some of those recruits during the academy process, and we terminated at least one with cause. So we graduated 11. As we sit right now, we're down 17 positions. There's 2 more expected retirements in about a month and a half from now. So we will start the next academy down negative 19 positions. We're hopeful that we can fill all of those positions. The timetable for academy training starts generally in March. They graduate the very end of October. They go into field training. So 2025's class is still actually in field training, and therefore they don't count towards manpower or staffing on a relief. So they're being paid, but they're in essence not counting towards our usable body count, so to speak, for a shift.
When does that field training should kind of end, and when do they start getting counted?
Generally speaking, the tail end of November on that time, or I'm sorry, December on that timetable. This year was a little bit different. We don't have a set date that they count towards manpower because it's officer specific, whether the development of their training and their progression through the training process. Obviously, we have to certify them as being safe for solo patrol. That generally occurs for some candidates towards the end of December. That didn't happen this year by the consensus of police supervision and field training officers, which are senior patrol officers that are entrusted to train them through a field training program where there's a collective agreement to release them to solo patrol. We're not there with this particular class for a variety of reasons, but I haven't put a hard date on it. We switch over for the 2026 year on December 31st, and they're all going to still be in field training until at least that date when they change shifts. And then we're currently actively reassessing where they stand for solo patrol. So ideally, it would be, towards the end of each calendar year or the very beginning of the calendar year. But from year to year, that's different. Some recruits have gone into the months of February or beyond where we make decisions as to their street readiness. And then some come to the realization, or the department comes to the realization that maybe they're not going to progress or advance and be retained.
Okay, I guess I'm sort of putting you on the spot, but last time we had some police funding transfers come through, there were a couple of items. It was we had transfer for expenses for a crossing guard program that we were coming in over budget, and I didn't get to address that with you, but my understanding is that we basically have more folks actually showing up to all their shifts. So, and we've never quite budgeted for that, and we are now, and we've hopefully figured that out for 2026.
Right. Are you talking about the police officers?
Yeah, the last set of transfers we had to do, which was
Which was for the school crossing
school
guards?
crossing guard program was over budget,
Right.
and I believe that's the reason. I just don't think
Right.
we
That
got
was
to address
just
that.
because we implemented that new program to pay them a little bit more and give them that bonus, and that just allowed an officer not to
Yes, right.
man it for a couple hours in the morning. That's all.
And the other thing was in there was a pretty good chunk of out of title pay. So is there a specific reason where we're having a lot of out of title pay right now? Is it having to do with the staffing issues or anything in particular?
Staffing issues affect out of title, and then that's governed by the contract as far as what title they're working in. It's not always predictable. There's a set schedule as far as ranks and what coverage will be for each shift. But for supervisory coverage, it comes down to at least 2 supervisors, whether that's a captain, lieutenant, or a sergeant. If they're working out of title, then they're compensated in accordance with the contract. If, say, you had an injury of a senior member supervisor, they're not working at all, someone's working in their role, and then is compensated accordingly for it. So it could fluctuate from year to year based on the circumstances of your staffing or a training assignment.
But was there a particular issue? I mean, I just go to the obvious one is that you were in the acting role, and so everyone below you, it seems like there's a gap. Did that have anything to do with it, or
that wouldn't really flow that way. So I'm not in the union. So if my salary is adjusted, then it's adjusted as.
No, I don't mean specifically you, but whatever gap was created because of you, anything in the lower, like somebody having to take over some of the stuff you were doing or something like that.
Yeah. So whether I'm present or not present or working out of my title, it wouldn't affect anything below. It's specifically to the patrol division ranks of captain, lieutenant, and sergeant. And then it would also be applied to the detective bureau for their chain of command and their hierarchy. So the situation with the chief being suspended or removed didn't affect that in any way. It's more specific to the particular people as they're staffed on those working reliefs and the detective bureau. So, I mean, I could, I guess, have to delve into it to break it down more so, you know, on a particular reason, if this person was off injured or, you know, if,
I was just wondering if there was anything particularly driving it this year, because it had not been, I believe I looked back and it hadn't been
right, I
a
don't
major
want
issue
to,
going back. so-
Manufacturing, we call it tall poles. Like if they're, when you're graphing it, is there any reason when you're keeping track of what the different reasons are that there's a bunch in one category or, right? So
right.
like
so
injury or
well,
on the
right.
job injury.
there was an off-duty medical situation of one senior captain who was out for a months long period. And therefore, on any given day, he would work. At least one, if not two people would be bumped. So that's where I was referring to, like
Yeah,
circumstantial.
there you go. That could be
Um,
the.
That,
the
that
difference.
probably accounts for a decent chunk. And then if you had like a prolonged training assignment, there could be a variety of reasons that contribute, but specifically in 25, we did have one member that was off on a prolonged, personal medical situation and out of work.
That probably accounts for, as you say, most of that. All right. All right. Any other questions?
I mean, I was curious, are officers opting into the comp time? Because that was council passed legislation that came in through the police union requesting that we kind of expand the number of hours that people could get for comp time. Everyone remember this? Yeah. So I was curious if that actually, if people are actually taking the city up on more comp time or not.
No, people take, comp time daily. It's all tracked. I could get you like hard numbers as far as daily comp time hours earned.
If there was an, in the use since change.
Yeah, so I think there has been, in your comp time bank that you're allowed to accumulate has increased. We see people build it this time of year and then try to utilize it summer months, warmer months, when it's more conducive to how they choose to take their leave time, which is generally speaking, you know, summer months.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Related to the manpower shortage, which is such a big piece of this, and the 2025 class, are there specific metrics? You mentioned police supervision, training officers had identified the 2025 class largely not ready to be approved for solo patrol. Are there specific metrics in those considerations?
Yeah, so the field training program, it's like a state curriculum. It's kind of a nationwide accepted program that has daily observation reports completed where their progression is tracked in, I think there's some maybe 40 plus categories, and they're kind of graded or rated on those as far as meet standards, not meeting standards, responding to training. It's documented for each recruit officer daily on each 8-hour shift. The FTO completes that. It's reviewed by the supervision on that relief, the shift captain, and we have an FTO program manager that oversees it as well. So it's monitored very closely. It's not necessarily a scoring system or a point system, but the process that's in place, and it's kind of a universally accepted program across the country to gauge someone's progression and readiness. So, you know, it varies from agency to agency, how long you stay in a field training program. I think, and don't quote me, I think the state police did something like 6 months. The minimum standard that the state requires, DCJS, like as far as an accredited agency or a police recruit, their set hours, we far exceed those, but we're not really interested in just meeting the bare bones minimum. We're trying to ensure that we have a competent, well-trained officer that's street ready. You know, there's much liability and decision-making and a lot of categories that we rate them on that go into that consideration.
Any other questions? So I see this is marked for expedition. Do I have a motion to expedite?
Motion.
So, thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, can you please call a roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmembers, Council President Pro Tem Middleton,
Sorry.
and Council Members Murray and Dundon are absent. Thank you.
Thank you. RL 26-27 is now expedited for Wednesday's business meeting. And I think we have one more. What's on, Ryan? Okay, stay right there. I think this is the last one, right? For John Ryan. Okay. I said the wrong one. Sorry. It was RL 26-25. Sorry. So the next one is with Councilmember Rathmel, and this is RL 26-34, and it's in municipal affairs. It's a resolution to accept a grant from the district attorney for internal camera fixtures.
So this is a resolution to accept funding that the district attorney, Paul Battisti, offered to our department, to the city, to support our recording devices, camera, software within prisoner holding areas, secure areas of the Binghamton Police Headquarters facility. The purpose with his funding is the video and audio recorded there is subject to discovery and the timely transfer of discoverable material relative to a criminal case or prosecution. We had a conversation with him and he offered this assistance or offered that there may be funding available from the county, from his budget, or to support our operation for what it is he needs to do. So we've had video systems in these areas for years, dating back, it went back to VHS recorded video that we manually start a machine when we had a subject in that area. This is a digital system that's hardwired through the ceiling and through the walls where it's activated electronically by computer. It goes to city server systems and it's then able to be managed by officials in the police department. It can be accessed or assisted, from our IT department. And then the transfer of that data for prosecution purposes and discovery requirements is far easier. The other part of the resolution was for the cash counting machine. The city has one. We've been assisted by finance prior, but this particular machine has technology embedded where it not just counts the cash, but it also verifies the content of the bill to determine that the bills are fraudulent or counterfeit bills, which is often encountered with these large sums of money that are seized relative to narcotics trade and drug trafficking. So it's helpful in that regard as well. We would use it for normal business. We come across large quantities of cash when people pass away, or we take safekeeping of it, and it has to be logged in and inventoried in our police evidence and property. And this is just a technology that would further allow for the accuracy of those funds and cash in our custody.
Anybody else have any other questions? That seems self-explanatory. And one last thing, you said it's located in downstairs, correct? Not outside, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean downstairs. It's on the first floor of City Hall, which would be police headquarters level. So
Mhm.
to the rear of what you can see publicly from the City Hall lobby is the booking area where we would detain prisoners or, in custody persons that are accused of a crime before they see a judge for arraignment. There's a hallway. And the other portion of this was specifically for what we call a DWI room. It's a special room that's designated for the processing of a DWI defendant, where we would conduct a chemical breath test and conduct potential questioning or testing of a defendant, a designated camera in that room for the purposes of DWI prosecution for drunk drivers.
Are these cameras more clear than like the body cameras, or because they're in interview rooms, the officers aren't wearing body cameras, or do you use them in synergy?
Yeah, they would both be utilized depending on the officer and the circumstances. So the people that are detained there may be unattended by an officer. So it also affords protection to the city, to the officer, as well as the defendant, you know, medical emergency or false claims of abuse by police. We've had prisoners try to assault officers or other prisoners in that hallway. So it's obviously creates a record for documentation purposes of the happenings in that location. The technology, I'm not an expert. With each iteration of these cameras as they're replaced, they seem to be of better quality, a better ratio, frame rate ratio. You know, whether the aperture of the camera, the eye, you know, how that image looks to a human viewer after the fact. With each upgrade, I think the technology improves. Obviously, there's a variety of products, but from what it once was of like a black and white VHS video, it's, you know, night and day difference.
Update. Does anybody else have any other questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks.
Councilmember Kavanaugh will now introduce RL 26-32.
Okay. Have Commissioner Paludi down. Chuck, do you want to maybe, what's up with this?
So had some problems at Central Garage, went over budget a little bit, and I'm looking for funds to just clean up the end of the year.
All right, but I know I was asking about that. There's originally a transfer for a variety of things, and it's just out of the $1,000 equipment to building and
Yeah,
maintenance.
do you not have, do you have the redacted version?
I only have, let's see, in our packet, I think we only have
We just have the red.
the one with the red, all the red lines.
Yep, so there's only one line that needs to be on there.
Okay. So is the other stuff forthcoming, or we don't have to worry about it, or what?
No, they were not needed.
Okay,
They were anticipated, but they're not at the end of the year.
well, that's nice to hear for a change. All right, so
So Central Garage, we had a problem with the fuel island, and we had a problem with the air compressor and a little bit of HVAC stuff for heating and air conditioning. As you know, everybody knows we had the fire suppression issue. That's why I'm a little behind this year with that. If these things didn't pop up, we would be right on track.
okay, that's fairly modest. You don't think anyone has any questions? No? Thank you so much.
Well, Oh, actually,
Oh.
this is marked for expedition. Do I have a motion to expedite?
I'll motion.
Oh, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel? Aye. Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Council members Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
catching that.
Thank you, Josh Paludi. This RL 26-32 is now expedited for Wednesday's business meeting. Have a good evening. Next up, we have Councilmember Rathmel will introduce our RL 26-30 in the Planning Committee, and our presenter is Sarah Gross.
Thank you. This is RL 26-30, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an MOU with the New York State Office of Resilient Homes and Communities for the New York State Blue Buffers Voluntary Buyout Program.
Hello.
Take it away, Tito.
So this is a voluntary property buyout program run by the state to buy out properties that are in flood risk, high flood risk areas. There are two goals really. One is to give people who are vulnerable to flooding the opportunity to sell those properties and relocate. The other is through the acquisition of these properties, create a buffer of green space that can absorb water and offer some protection to the neighborhoods. Again, it's a voluntary program. Property owners don't have to sell. If they are rental properties, the state will offer relocation assistance. So this is where we're at. We need council's consent in the form of a resolution to move forward. And we have maps here that we can share of the 3 buffer areas.
I was gonna ask that. So funny, I was about to ask that. Where are we looking?
I think the things that stuck out to me just reading through what was provided in the packet. So primarily geared towards single family residents, primarily toward low to moderate income, and primarily primary residences. Could you just confirm? So in reading it, I don't know that they used rental assistance, but I'm assuming tenant assistance includes like that 6 months of rental assistance and relocation assistance. Is that accurate?
I don't know that that was made clear to us in our conversations, what exactly that looks like. We discussed contracting with community-based organizations for that particular assistance. Sorry, I'm just looking for the FAQ section on that, but we can clarify what exactly that looks like.
Sure. I think it was right in the, I don't think it was even in, I think it was in the original.
I think it's in the revised version that is not attached here. Apologies.
Okay, the way that they're, representing it, and it would seem best practice to include the actual tenant assistance, and they identified 6 months. I really appreciate that as a consideration. Obviously, no. I've looked through these, no other questions. I have several residents in a number of these streets in this particular area that have shared concerns. So.
And I think I apologize. I do see it now that it has the 6 months of 110% of fair market rent. And if there's any particular questions, we can follow up with RHC. And I think the only thing I want to flag is that there is some sensitivity around the maps, that RHC has like a really robust public engagement effort plan. They plan to contract with local community organizations to do the outreach directly to tenants and property owners, just to make sure that people don't feel like they see these maps and think my property is going to be taken or demolished. It is very much a voluntary program. So that's just a sensitivity around sharing those as physical copies. The information will obviously be made public, but RHC wants to manage that rollout process. And to Tito's point, this MOU allows them to move forward with engaging those community organizations and doing that outreach.
Good.
So if I'm understanding, so our role is that the city ends up with the property or stewardship of the property.
That's correct. Yep.
So, which would then be used for what we normally do with these floodplain plants. We keep them and keep them as wetland or do gardens or what have you, right? Those options are the options that would be open.
Yeah, and I believe it has the same restrictions that our FEMA lots have, where there
Okay.
can't be any permanent structures on them, but we can install green infrastructure. To your point, we have engaged with Vines and found a way to have their activities be eligible without having permanent structures on them. So some of these might be more appropriate to be maintained as green space that we actually maintain, such as the properties on Valley Street that we've already taken as FEMA properties. Some of them may be appropriate for return to wild, some may be appropriate for reforestation, just depends on the particular context.
And there may be money available in the future to do green infrastructure on these properties.
So how will council be engaged in conversations about what path is taken?
In terms of next steps for the properties?
Yeah, so for example, properties in the south side, whether or not those are returned to wild versus manicured in some capacity versus food justice programs. What is our role past the MOU authorization, Mayor?
I think if there were any particular properties that members of council were interested in, otherwise I believe we'd rely primarily on the Parks Department to help us understand which properties are best suited for what. I will say we have talked with Vine specifically about taking additional properties that we currently have through FEMA. They're at capacity right now, so they're not looking for new properties at this time, but we're always willing to have that conversation with them. They've been a great partner to us, but if there are any particular uses that particular lots are well suited for, I also think it depends, if one property takes us up on an offer, that becomes a different conversation than 6 properties in a row that creates a larger opportunity.
It says here, number 2, demolish and remove structures. So, the Blue Buffers program is going to do all those is going to do all that, correct?
Yeah. New York State will manage that process. We've spoken with them about how much support we can offer. It's primarily in kind, helping them access local demolition and environmental contractors, but they do the bulk of the work on this.
My question is two questions. So we obviously have like a lot of flood prone areas, but you've just identified this boundary within the boundaries on the map is what would be subject to this program.
Yep.
Can you explain the rationale behind these regions?
So we looked at the current FEMA maps, the preliminary FEMA maps, the extent of the 2011 flood, and rainfall data that the state provided us. They wanted us to keep a limit of 100 properties. And so we used those data to kind of narrow down, because obviously, as you can see, there's a much larger area that's at risk. But we used those data to narrow down into a cluster, which was also a priority of theirs. They wanted a contiguous sort of buffer. And so these areas that were chosen are close to the source of flooding. So they're close to the river. And on the east side, in the case of the east side, it's close to the river and Chamberlain Creek. So it creates a buffer, and also met the criteria of being in those other floodplains in the extent of the 2011 flood and having heavy rainfall.
Okay. The other question I had was, do you have like an estimate for if you got 100% compliance or 100% like buy-in from property owners, like what the dollar amount would be for these 2 regions? What it would cost?
So the state is
versus-
expecting like around 30%
Right.
acceptance. They have come up with an estimate of what they think fair market values are for the properties in these areas. And then we gave them demolition costs, typical demolition costs. I don't know what the total number is that they came up with,
I don't have it off the top of my head.
but they have a number that they came up with that they're comfortable with.
Do we know how many units we are expecting to lose in terms of residential units?
We haven't added up that mix, no. We can though,
30%.
we have that information.
30%, yeah, of how many unit, because I'm looking at a map, I don't have a sense of how many people live there
Yeah.
in density.
I'll point out too that in the first ward and east side, there's a good number of commercial properties too that form that buffer area. So in those 2 clusters, there won't be as much loss of potential residential units. But we can get you that number.
I do know the state said that if once they're looking at a property, those costs are kind of far above and beyond what they had budgeted for, there is an option that they would not proceed pardon me, with the purchase and demolition. So it has to be kind of within a reasonable boundary of what they've estimated. Or if they get a little bit of a lower uptake, they may be able to have a higher per property cost. We are only the 2nd municipality in New York State that's entering into this program. So they're being very, very cautious about how they roll this out, and will be a little bit of guinea pigs, but it's also an exciting opportunity to kind of be on the cutting edge of the managed retreat that New York State is looking to pursue over the next 10, 20 years.
What was the other city or municipality?
It's in Suffolk County on Long Island.
It's Brookhaven,
Brookhaven?
which is like a gigantic town that has a lot of little towns in it.
You said we're only the second city to. Municipality. That might be a good thing.
Yeah, and they reached out to us. Obviously, Binghamton has unfortunately a reputation as being a flood prone community. So they really wanted to be working with communities where they know this is an issue and they can prove the value of a program like this. Just for additional context, Department of State is currently pursuing a large scale statewide managed retreat plan. So this is kind of one of the first efforts I think that the state is taking as part of this larger project.
Okay.
This is making me think a lot. But do we have any idea? I know there's like people investing in like new businesses on Front Street. And I feel like this, like,
To Tito's point, part of this is just there are properties that were contiguous with other properties that are more in line with the program guidelines. So we don't expect a property that has recently had a lot of investment that they'll take this up. But it also doesn't mean that these are flood ravaged. It's more that creating these green spaces within these buffers is going to absorb water and ideally protect the properties in it, even those that don't take up the program. And it's, the topography, you can be up a tiny hill and be way less flood prone than a property 3 doors down, but we didn't skip properties that were proximate to others that were in the buffer zone because they wanted these contiguous map areas.
Are there plans for like public safety aspects of having more areas without people moving through them, or lower flow of people, or more area that might be people might choose to set up a tent on?
I don't think we've had that conversation with BPD. I'd have to ask. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Tito.
No. Other than that, the East Side and First Ward areas are highly visible, highly trafficked areas, whether they have buildings on them or not. But we can look into that.
Anybody else have any other questions? Well, thank you.
oh yeah,
Oh.
I'm not done. This is got the gears turning. But I guess, so if we do this program, is there like further iterations to expect and then further like maps to, or is it just?
Yeah, so they've identified these enhanced buyout areas as our buyout areas.
Okay.
They're not anticipating adding to them over time. However, that being said, we're still very early on in the program. It's being funded by the Environmental Bond Act, I believe. So at a certain point, there simply won't be funds available to continue doing this. But like I said, it's part of New York State's larger approach to managed retreat. So I anticipate that over the next several years and decades that there might be more programs, but this particular program, they've advised us that these are the enhanced buyout areas that they'd like to move forward with.
Okay.
Is the HCR rep the same, or was it Bruce? I'm trying to remember. Is it the same person we've worked with on housing development side of things, or?
There's one person who is the same between the two groups. So RHC, Resilient Homes and Communities, is part of Homes and Community Renewal. They could have chosen names that were slightly farther apart. But there's only, I think, one person who I've worked with who works on both the production and on this side of it. But we have had the conversation about the City of Binghamton's progress towards housing unit production because in consideration of taking units offline, we want to make sure that we're adding units simultaneously.
Can you email councils, whoever is appropriate for us to be contacting at the program?
Yeah, I'll ask them who the best contact is.
Any other questions? Thank you, Sarah and Tito. The next RL is with Councilmember Rathmel, and she will now introduce RL 26-31 in the Planning Committee. 31, excuse me.
This is RL 26-31, a resolution to authorize building permit fee waivers for DRI projects.
Okay, so this is exactly what it says, and you'll see on the second page, the proposals. So this is essentially just parcels that are in the Clinton Street DRI area. We're asking for a fee waiver over the next 4 years, really just incentivize development in that area. This would support not just the projects that have applied for and are pending approval for DRI awards, but any projects that happen in the Clinton Street downtown revitalization area as shown on the map. And I have it in black and white, which is very difficult to see, but hopefully it's in color for you guys. We are able to provide a list of these parcels. This is just visually a little bit more impactful. Happy to answer any questions, but I will say that when we brought up the idea of doing this with New York State, they were excited to see that we were making additional investments beyond the state's investments. And even though it's not dollars actually provided to the projects, but by lowering some of the total project cost and supporting those projects.
Do you have an estimate of what that we think that might pencil out to?
Yeah, so if we just take the DRI projects at their current value as proposed, it's about $233,000. And that would be over the entirety of the project. I will say that's not a totally accurate revenue number because a number of those projects would be subject to plan review. And so we would pay those costs out. One thing we have agreed to is that anyone who engages with plan review services would still pay the value of whatever the city of Binghamton is paying to Labella for plan review. So we would not be losing any money. We just simply wouldn't be collecting the revenue on top of what we're paying for plan review.
They would pay basically cost.
Yes. And I have spoken with Chris. I know he's not here tonight, but he's comfortable with this number.
Does anybody else have any other questions? All right. Thank you, Sarah, for
Thank
coming
you.
down. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. So we have Chairman Kavanaugh will now introduce RL 26-27 in the Finance Committee.
KCR, general fund over budget items. What do we got? Let's see.
Yes, gotta find it here. All right. Which one is this?
The general fund ones,
26-27? I'm sorry.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is the one with we've received some revenues over our budgeted line items in building and alteration permits, state aid, mortgage tax, and parking ticket fines. These were as of several weeks ago, and we are still receiving funds in these lines, but this is all that I need for right now. For our telephone, fax, and internet, that's due to our new phone systems when Verizon told us that they were no longer supporting our old phones. This was in process when our purchasing agent left, and we didn't account for the expense. So this helps. This is the expense to setting up the new voice over internet phones that wasn't in the budget from last year in the purchasing department. I'll skip to the last one, the animal shelter and services. The clerk is aware from last year, we didn't know the exact expenses. So this is the difference in the final bill for last year for 2025. And then for health insurance retirees, that was just a
Did we build in the agreement increase for 2026?
yes, I believe so. I was trying to look that up real quick, but Sarah finished the second one really quick. But yes, we did do a slight increase, but I can't remember what it is. Let's see.
And retiree insurance, of course, is the bulk
Yeah,
of it.
retiree insurance, that was due to basically an error in the accounting department. We anticipated increasing the rates so much to our retirees because the rates went up considerable that the deductions didn't come into where they needed to. So we just needed to increase the budget. They did have a few more expenses through Excellus, but it didn't make up for the difference.
So deductions from that we were supposed to take from,
What we bill them, their deductible every month. They have to pay us their portion of their bill. Last year, I think the increase was about 38%. And then, but that's just 38% only gets you like 5% on the whole bill. And that's about how much we increased it for, not 20% like the bill should have went up.
there was no way to correct course mid-year or anything, or if we
No, we just waited
raise
till the
that
end.
deductible again for this year, I'm assuming?
We raised the deductible again this year for the employees, for the retirees. They knew it was coming just because of Medicare's expenses are going up. And due to the deductible that decreased, the federal government decreased the out-of-pocket deductible from 8 to 2, which means it puts more onus on the insurance companies. So of course, they're going to bill their Medicaid recipients even more. So we have to either hit our retirees more or
Eat more.
eat the cost.
Do you have any idea what this increase is costing per retiree, or?
Yes, I do actually. As of November, oh no, I'm sorry. I don't have it for retirees. I have it for employees. I don't have it for the retirees, but I can get that number. It's a separate number. That's calculated by NFP.
Okay.
But if you're interested,
I am. Send it to me.
average claims in 2020 for December 24 through November 25. So for that year period, average claims are running at 1,675 PEPM, which is per employee per month. That's 20% above the average claims at this point last year. So we're at 20% more above, people are filing more claims, that 20% more.
Specifically out of the retiree pool or over?
No, this is the regular
Citywide.
employee pool. Yeah.
%20 increase. Okay. Do you have conversations with the benefits administrator at all about drivers of that and
I do. Basically for the retirees now, it's the Medicare thing. Now for the employees, it is basically due to our prescription costs, and we do have several individuals that are pretty close to $1 million in prescriptions, and they're basically cancer and high cost maintenance drugs. The pharmaceutical industry is making a lot of money. So, but yeah, that's basically what it is. I get a list every month that they're called high claims costs, and there's usually about between 2 and 10 people on that on a monthly basis. Some of them come on, some of them go off, but there's a couple of people that have stayed on for the whole year.
any other questions? Motion to expedite?
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
It's pending year end bills due, and that's a similar rationale for the past expeditions as well. I don't think we stated it on the record, so.
Again, I'm sorry.
Just reading the explanation of why it was being expedited into the discussion and mentioning that it's the same reason as the past ones that we also didn't, and why we were expediting. Okay. The same reason. End of
Oh.
year budget.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
all right, yeah. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky, Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmembers Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thank you. And we are going to go on again with Councilmember Kavanaugh. He will now introduce RL 26-29 and finance. And it looks like Chuck, you're still the presenter.
All right, would you like to walk us through this, these transfers?
Okay, so
What we're paying
this
down with
is,
what? and who
yeah,
we
this
have?
is the sewer fund. So basically back at the end of the project, sewer plant project, we had FEMA money and we had settlement money come in that we've put in the sewer fund and set aside. We knew we had to set it aside in a reserve. FEMA has now come and told us that it's mandatory. We have to pay down our 2016 note. So basically we have the cash, it's sitting in there.
EFC, not FEMA.
I'm sorry, did I say FEMA?
You did.
I meant EFC, sorry. But it is FEMA money that we have in there. Partial. So yeah, so EFC has sent this letter saying that they have requested the Johnson City portion and the city portion to pay down our portions of our notes for the project. Basically, what's happening is there's a refunding coming up on this note, and they want to use that as part of the refunding to pay down part of the debt service. This will help the city going forward, reducing our debt service costs for this note going forward. This note right now has about a $22 million balance on it. So it'll go down about $5 million. We'll also receive some what they call benefit of refunding, which will assist the sewer fund as well later for the rest of the for the note. I do not have the maturity date, but I think it's pretty close to 2039.
So EFC initiated the process of, we want
Yes.
$8.9 million.
Yes,
please.
due to the fact that interest rates are low. So they're going to go do a refunding because this interest rate is a little bit, it's beneficial at this point in time. So they're going to use this money to pay down the note plus give us the benefit of the refunding at that time with lower interest rates.
Versus what we've been earning on cash in the bank though, right? Yeah.
Yes, they have not asked for the interest. They've just asked for the principal back that we have. So we're keeping that money in the sewer fund, whatever interest we've earned. They did not ask for it.
So you got to go to Johnson City and do the same thing?
No,
Pretty much,
Johnson
or no?
City's doing the same thing you guys are doing. They're going to have their, what do they call their board? Their trustees, excuse me. They're going to have their trustees do the same thing you're doing and approve the sending of the funds back in whatever account code that they choose in their sewer fund.
But as you say, this was kind of an expected thing at some point.
It was expected. That's why we saved the money in the sewer fund. It was either we were going to use it to pay down our debt, or EFC was going to use it to pay down the debt. Either way, it was going to happen. We knew we had to save that money. That was part of a note. When you sign a note with EFC, that if you get any insurance funds, settlement funds, or FEMA or any other type of funds like that, you have to use them to pay down the debt. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Anybody else have any questions?
Let's
And I see this is marked for expedition.
I'll motion expedite.
Yep.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Says EFC has requested these funds to be paid ASAP.
Yes, they wanted me to pay.
Justification.
They wanted me to pay it on the 2nd, on Friday, and I said no.
Uh-oh.
I have to do this process first, and they understood.
Okay.
So
Uh-oh. Okay, just gotta wait a second for the clerk. She just went to the bathroom.
It's
Are you ready
And-
for an
yep.
expedition vote?
Yep,
Gotcha.
clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky, don't worry, I see you. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Council members Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thank you, Chuck. And I think you're all set, right? We have one more? Are you going to be Kent today?
Going to be Kent.
Okay,
I
okay,
need
awesome.
I
Okay.
need
So
stilts.
this is again with Council Member Chair Kavanaugh. We'll introduce RL 26-35 and the Finance Committee.
went over budget drug testing, basically.
Yes, basically, let me see my notes here. Yeah, this is for hiring and pre-employment physicals. So we had 8 new firefighters. We had lots of hirings. It was a conservative budget, but we've also had a few accidents this year. So we have the mandatory drug testing for accidents and several employee-related issues that needed to be taken to drug tests. So it wasn't an overall bad year, but it was a little bit more than usual.
Oh, motion to expedite.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I was just gonna, I mean, no, not on the expedition.
Are you sure?
And the justification written just says pending bills.
Yes, he's holding back his last bill from December until this.
Do you want to ask me a question? Okay, clerk, can you please take a roll?
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Council members Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thank you. RL 26-35 is now expedited for Wednesday's business meeting. Did you want to say something?
I don't, it's just seems like the parking tickets and parking meter fees are really helping us out in some weird spots. Just those have come in a little bit higher.
You're talking about you're surprised that they came in that high, or?
Actually, I'm not surprised, but I'm just like, they're helping us out a lot in a few different situations.
Yeah, and we haven't even gotten our fourth quarter sales tax yet, so I'm imagining, I'm hopeful that that's going to be a large amount too.
Yay.
If those were all consolidated into a single parking fund, would that be harder for them to be used for these type of situations where there's unexpected expenses? Where there's both fines and metered.
So are you talking about putting into like the parking ramps fund
Yeah.
or? So
Yeah,
if
there's
you,
currently a proposal on the table to consolidate parking, both metered and
Not on the table.
and garage.
It-
Well, yeah, not
It's,
not for us, not at this level of government, but it's being kicked around. And that would create a separate kind of fund for that.
so obviously we already have like our parking ramps fund. The issue with like having the money go into that fund is then you would have to move it out of that fund to the general fund to be able to use it for stuff like this. I think that's my understanding.
So,
Like,
right,
The
so
point of
I-
the proposal. would be to-
Two-step process
to-
instead of a one-step
Yeah, but
process.
the point of the proposal is to sequester it for parking needs only. So
yeah,
you'd just
you're
be short circuiting the purpose of doing it if you want to do it.
right. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you separated like a parking authority and that was all that it was, you could only use it for that unless you did something that was outside of it, like.
Do you think we could survive that without having our parking meter fines and fees to
At this
cover these
point,
unexpected?
I was gonna say, at this point, I wouldn't venture a guess right now. I really couldn't.
Okay.
You'd also be pulling in costs into that, right? You'd be paying people's salaries out of it that are not, or portions of people's salaries out of it that you aren't currently.
I welcome the state though to come in and look at that.
Any other questions? Discussions? Well, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night. Well, all right. Thank you. We'll have Councilmember Hotchkiss introduce RL 26-33 and the Public Works and Parks Committee as a Parks Committee member.
Yep. This is RL 26-33, a resolution accepting water line easement from RFGK Realty LLC and Hudson Street Parcels LLC. Want to give us more background, Corp Counsel?
So I think everyone's aware there's the large housing project that's going to be taking place at 187 Clinton Street. There's a few different parcels that are going to be combined to eventually be the parcel that's all built on. Part of that project is the developer would like to move the existing water line. So all this is basically changing what our easement is to reflect where the new water line would be versus what the existing one would be. We already ran this through engineering and they okayed it, so. Can answer any questions if you like. We're accepting the easement.
So are they gonna pay for the water line to be rerouted, or is that gonna be the city taking that on?
Yeah, we're not paying.
Okay.
They're the ones that are moving it, so they're gonna end up paying it, and then, we'll be responsible for maintaining it, and that's why we need the easement.
Okay.
But they're the ones that want it moved.
This project is bringing up some interesting, both water and sewer questions about large developments. It's also inspired the sewer credit conversation. I don't really have anything else. I guess I would like to know where it's moving out of curiosity. And
So
I'm sure
the
it's in
maps that
here.
were
Yeah.
included, it's kind of hard to tell, but it does show the existing versus the new.
Is there a reason why they want to move? Or like, is it just easier for them to access or? Oh,
I think it works better for what their design is going to be in terms of how the building's going to lay out and sit on the property. I can find out exactly why.
that'd be. But. Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Corporation Counsel. The next one again is with Councilmember Hotchkiss, and it is RL 26-28 and Public Works.
It's RL 26-2028, a resolution to approve the amendment of the joint sewage treatment IMA. What's going on here?
So there's, I believe, two pieces to this, if I remember correctly. One is we're adjusting the time period after which they can make their end of the year, like budget transfers and everything. So we're saying that at 90 days. And then the other piece is, I think I've talked with some of you about it back during, I think it was 2024. We approved the change to how the joint sewage treatment plant does its accounting. And we started using depreciation. There's portions of the IMA that don't line up with how we actually do the accounting using that depreciation setup. And so the other piece of these changes is to make the IMA reflect how the actual accounting's done. So there's the changes in green have to do with the date for making transfers like after the end of the fiscal year. And then there's underlying sections that have to do with adding in the budget lines that relate to depreciation.
What's the rationalization for the timeframe change?
I'm not, what was the, I don't have it in front of me, but I think the time frame was longer or was it shorter?
It used to be shorter.
It used to be shorter, like 45 days or even 60.
Yes, and so the 90 days basically lines up with what the city's sort of wrap up of the fiscal year is. I think it lines up kind of close for the village too, where like
Yes.
we don't get bills in after 90 days. We might get bills in 30 days after the end of the budget year, or even 60 days after, or where we're gonna need some time to like figure out and move money. But there shouldn't be any bills coming in where we can't pay them within the 90-day period. So it's basically like trying to create a good cutoff where like if there's something that's falling in outside of the 90 days, it's really something that needs to go to both boards for approval versus like your typical end of the year wrap up with bills coming in.
So my concern is we're already getting their financials late, which is affecting when city financials get done, right?
I'm sorry, we're getting their financials late?
Are we getting their financials late? Isn't that affecting our auditing process?
No, we do the joint sewer budget financials. I do those.
Isn't that what we were
Talking
waiting
about
on?
the audit process, right?
Yes.
Yes, we're talking about the year-end cutoff for bills.
No, I know. but-
And so like for the city, we cut it off 60 days. So February 28th, nobody can put bills back to last year. And then gives me 30 days to finalize the AUD, make budget amendments. If something comes in that's rather large and it goes over a budget line and it needs to go back to the last year, this is going to be the same process for them.
But when we weren't talking about we were talking about getting our audit financial records back in September. And the auditor was saying, the city's ready to go in June or something. And we were waiting on sewage treatment plant,
Yes, we're waiting on the sewer treatment plant auditors.
on the auditors.
Yeah.
So backing this up
This doesn't,
is
this
not
doesn't,
going to affect that process more negatively.
no, this does not affect that process in any way. The only thing is that I could help out their auditors with is do their books first, and I'm not going to.
Okay. All right. I just didn't want to exacerbate
No,
that problem.
no, this would actually, I file the AUDs on the same day. I have to file joint sewers on the same day in the city, so I have to do them all together anyway. They just have a shorter time frame.
To be able to change, to
Mhm.
amend. All right. All right. What about, Bob, what about the exact wording here? There's 100, so that you delete a 4, and so it ends up being 165 days there for the 2023 fiscal year. And why are we looking back at 2023 at this? What is the point of that?
You'd probably have to go ask Ed Crum, who came up with this initially. I think it had to do with during that year, we had to go back further.
And so we're making it right now? Okay. Do you have a problem with?
That's the first year that we did move to the enterprise fund, which caused this whole process to be.
So retroactively, we're saying it was okay to look back 5 months that year
In 2023, I think
for
so.
2023. Okay.
Yeah, because we had that conversion from the old system to the new system.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's an assumption on my part. I don't know what Ed Crum's thinking was.
I believe that's what it was, is they wanted additional time to try and make changes to deal with the switch over to the enterprise fund. For me, the big part is like it's 90 days moving forward.
Right. So that's what we're concerned with going forward. Okay.
And they usually do have a pretty good handle on their budget, so.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right, well, thank you, Chuck and Bob. And I guess we will move on. Councilmember Madaveski will now introduce RL 26-21. And as the chair of the Rules and Procedures and Special Studies Committee.
pull it up. So this has been emailed out to council. I'm waiting on a couple of pieces of feedback from council members. Anyone who's been following the special rules committee discussions won't be surprised by any of it. Let me see, here we go. Just to share it out, we're supposed to create a rules book every year. It's supposed to be voted on the meeting following the organizational meeting. So that's this Wednesday. And it's just any additional rules that we want that go beyond or the charter. So some of the additional rules, food and drink, to make it clear that council members may eat and drink in council chambers, to make it clear particularly for people outside of City Hall, how the RL submission deadline process works. So that section says City Hall, City Council and city residents should submit requests for legislation by Wednesday at noon, the Wednesday before a scheduled Monday work session to be considered for the agenda. The president has discretion to accept late items, but consideration is not guaranteed. Previously, only internal people understood the timelines. There wasn't kind of a public document that let people know what the timelines were. Sign out sheet process. Holdovers from previous year will be assigned a new number and a new sheet, and council members will need to sign them out again on a new sheet. So again, these are just things that have been happening, but to make it clear to council members and people who are following along. I'm looking for some feedback on expounding on what the majority leader role is in the city charter. It references the majority leader, but doesn't really say what they are, which might help people like the media to understand what the role is, or constituents or people to be able to appropriately contact the right person for the right job. President and pro tem are much more clear in the charter. So I'm waiting for a little bit of feedback from the two folks that have held that role on what they wish people would know about the expectations of the role and the interaction with the public. and
Absolutely.
media. Organizational meeting, came up with the idea to have the president read into the record RLs that were passed that were originally introduced by a council member from the past year, because things get kind of lost, and I feel like sometimes it's kind of, you feel like, what have we done? Nice to get just a nice summary of that, all in one place on the record. Most city councils have it clear that the city clerk report directly to the council president. We've visited and interacted with many cities. That's how they operate. Many of them put it in their rule book. So I'm proposing to put that into our rule book. End of year rollover. So in addition to RLs, at the end of the year, any topics referred to a committee should be listed out. We did something last year. We, instead of having an actual RL relating, or was it last year or 2 years ago, to food deserts, for example, we set the topic area. Publicly, we voted to send that to the MPA committee. So I thought that if we haven't closed out a topic, that we should make sure we're keeping track of what we've voted on and have that at that year-end rollover discussion, as well as any RLs. And then the other piece that I'm waiting on, Councilman Kavanaugh's graciously committed to putting together a list of all of the things that are owed to council, that council owes, and like important dates for those things. It's council, things relating to council are not all living within that council chapter in the charter. And it's scattered all throughout. Our new general code will make that process a lot swifter. And I think I'm knocking on wood that we will have that for Wednesday's vote. If not, we can add it as an additional piece later, but just some examples. When budget season dates, when comptrollers reports are due to council, when corp council reports are due, auditors reports are due, votes relating to salaries, particularly relating to clerk, mayor, or council. Those all have kind of specified charter dates. We've been voting on legislation that includes some feedback to council. For example, the ATV reports, making sure we're not losing track of the things that we have written in oversight over. Adopting revised rule book, that's in there. There's an annual vector control plan. There's all sorts of stuff that's in there. Council also has 30 days to amend or repeal traffic board decisions. So there's like a lot of things that we have authority over or decision-making power. Streets, a lot of stuff relating to road work we can get our fingers into. So this is just kind of to document where council is supposed to be doing things and when and what is owed to us. So we're gonna try and either have that for Wednesday or add it on at a later time. But I think it'll be good both for council to stay on top of things, but also for the public to understand council's powers.
So do you want this to be expedited?
Yes, we'll need to expedite. As I said, y'all have a version of it. I've read out loud most of the pieces that I'm happy to amend or change. People open to feedback. I just want to get something by the date so we get used to hitting the dates that are in the charter. And we can always modify it as the year goes on, and we can modify it, obviously completely redo it next year if we want to. But just to see how it feels to have a rule book. My impression is it's been many years since the council has followed the charter on this task.
That's good. Do I have a motion to expedite
I
or
will
any
motion to
questions
expedite.
first? Any questions first before?
I'm just gonna say thanks for like following up on this like gap that was pretty obvious when we first took office. I think there's a couple items that you mentioned that I think should be charter changes, and some of them seem like they're not actually rules, but they're like a kind of a handbook for council members. But it's still beneficial to have a reference for us and for councils. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I should note the one of the pieces I didn't read out because I'm gonna remove it from the rules book, but I put it in the draft. There's some things that will need to be changed through legislation. If we want to change them, they can't just be added through the rules book because they're in the charter, how to do the things. And so I will work with the clerk's office and the attorney's office to propose some of those modifications. But I wanted council to be aware in the context of the rules book, some of the things that
Thank you.
I'd like to change.
Thank you so much for the work you've done on it. It's very, very, very good. So thank you for that. Were you going to say something, Councilmember Rathmel?
No, I was just going to motion to expedite.
Oh, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Clerk, can you please call roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmembers Murray and Dundon are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. 5-0.
And thank you. And RL 26-21 will now be expedited for Wednesday's business meeting. And now we are back again in finance with Council Chair Kavanaugh. We'll be introducing RL 26-22 and the Finance Committee. And the presenter is Councilmember Rebecca Rathmel.
So RL 2622 is fulfilling an obligation that or commitment rather, that we made in 2020, late 2025 to fund the purchase of 2 Medcar fly cars for the Binghamton Fire Department. The original proposal was to fund these through CDBG money. I think as the next RL will show, and as at the meeting we're planning for Thursday, there are plentiful projects to apply our CDBG funds to. Yet this remains an immediate need for the, or not immediate, but a crucial need for the city. We committed funds to the contingency budget for 2026 in thought of using them. Councilwoman Rathmel has put forth this RL to kind of follow through on that commitment and get funding out the door to allow the police department, or I'm sorry, the fire department to purchase these med cars. Would you like to comment on the legislation further?
No, I think you summarized it well.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Well, this is marked for expedition. Can I have a motion to expedite?
Oh, I will mention that the amount we ended up setting aside in contingency is slightly less than the original ask. So there may be well, after this goes out to bid or contract and supply, whatever we might need to find a few thousand more dollars. But maybe we'll get lucky and things will come in slightly cheaper than thought.
Okay.
Anyway.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Again, I'd like to see this is up for expedition. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, can you?
Wait, I'll read it in. So it says, please explain why expedition is necessary. We have people fill it out. I'll make sure we all hear it. So per President Holland's, med cars are essential tools in delivering rapid and effective care that allow trained firefighter paramedics to respond quickly to medical calls, alleviate pressure on the broader EMS system, and provide life-saving interventions within minutes. Binghamton Fire Department members have been waiting 6 months for these vehicles. For 4 of those 6 months, funds were authorized for purchase, but remain untouched despite the urgent demand for high-quality emergency medical response within the city. This is the soonest council could act to ensure their purchase, and the Binghamton Fire Department should not have to wait any longer. I presume this was a recent interaction.
With President Holleran, so his representation of the need was outlined when we were alerted to it in the summer. Just stressing the length of time that they have been waiting. Yep.
Thank you. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmembers Dundon and Murray are absent. Council President Pro Tem Middleton. Thank you. That is 5-0.
Thank you.
I've got a question on this one for Corp Counsel. So in this case, so if we all pass this and then the mayor doesn't sign it, what happens then? It doesn't, nothing happens, but
It's not so much whether or not the mayor signs it. The mayor can veto any piece of legislation. This body can override it if it has enough votes for it. The other piece with any budget transfers is that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment has to approve budget amendments.
okay. So when,
Maybe.
thank you.
Clarified that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment is appointments by the mayor.
Any other questions? Is it okay to move on? Okay, we are going to go to Councilmember Kavanaugh. He will now introduce RL 26-23. And it's in the Finance Committee with Councilmember Rebecca Rathmel as the presenter.
RL 2623, resolution to adopt a spend down plan to address HUD timeliness obligations for overaccrued CDBG. Councilwoman, would you like to present your
I
plan?
would love to. Thank you. Just for quick context, council was alerted in early summer to unspent community development block grant funding. We reviewed a year-to-date budget report that was shared from the comptroller's office and uncovered at least over $700,000 in unspent community development block grant funds. That was July. Later that month, though we weren't informed until mid-September, the planning department received notice from HUD that Binghamton had not been allocating CDBG money in accordance with federal timeliness requirements. So we were given an obligation amount of just under $247,000 that has to be expended by July 2026, truly the end of June, in order to regain compliance and avoid risking further penalty. Council, in light of that obligation and the notice received, I introduced and we did consider 2 ordinances in September that would have the potential to move the CDBG funds quickly, but also perpetually in a way that would ensure the overaccrual does not happen again. Initially in September, the planning department confirmed the initiatives to be viable. They had feedback about implementation, what it would take to roll those out. We did schedule subsequent meetings, but they were canceled at the mayor's request. So seeing those 2 ordinances not move forward, and now that we're in January, so 7 months after becoming aware of the timeliness noncompliance and 6 months away from the 2026 deadline. After that meeting was canceled in November, I started to work on a more specific spend down plan that could be immediately actioned to the best of my knowledge with eligible projects and eligible activities that would accomplish not only spending down the obligation amount by the deadline, but doing so in alignment with the objectives of the Community Development Block Grant Program, which are primarily to support safe, affordable housing in low-income neighborhoods and expand economic opportunity for underserved communities, but are also in alignment with the goals identified in the consolidated plan. There is no established process for allocating unspent CDBG funding. This is not the annual allocation process where applications are solicited and then reviewed by our Community Development Advisory Council. I do think that our step 2 should be developing a transparent and public process for allocating CDBG funds that are unspent. In the absence of that at the moment, I started reaching out to, again, in November, started reaching out to previous applicants of CDBG capital funding, given that most of the unspent amount is limited to largely capital expenditure. And then we held a planning committee meeting also with a few other entities that hadn't necessarily submitted capital projects in the past, but were facing cuts to their budgets. So we being the planning committee, explored a couple of different options for projects to identify. The plan itself is formatted to include a description, total cost. I have shared it with council members, but it will be reviewed later this week as well. It includes project descriptions, total cost, completion timeline. Again, as long as contract agreements are issued by February 1st, every project identified has confirmed that they would be able to spend the funds down by the end of June. And I've also added the regulatory reference for each project that indicates their eligibility, either as an entity or as an activity. Any questions before we jump in?
Sorry, thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation, and thank you so much for working this out to be able to serve the community. I just had a question. So once this is passed, do they still have to apply for the people that you spoke with regarding this? Do they still have to apply for anything?
So there's not a set process for a typical RFP and application protocol. In the past with unspent funds, there has not been an application requirement. They will still certainly have to meet eligibility criteria in terms of being eligible applicants, confirming their capacity to submit reporting requirements, things like that. But no application process should be needed. I also didn't issue a formal request. There are descriptions and proposals that they shared in the spend down plan. But I think the conversation that we're hoping to have with the planning department later this week is to identify any remaining information that would need to be gathered in order to move the contract agreements forward as quickly as possible, and specifically by that February 1st date. The plan itself is 9 pages. We're just going to focus on pages 2 to 3. I wanted to outline quickly the projects that I've identified as urgent priorities that meet critical community needs. They are listed in order of urgency. The very first is for the United Presbyterian Church. Currently, the Upcomfort Warming Center is operated out of that location by the Addiction Center of Broome County. They have identified they will not be able to sustain operations past mid-March. So several entities have been involved in conversations to identify options for sustaining the warming center there. It's a 42-bed overnight warming center for unhoused persons. United Presbyterian Church did submit a proposal for strategic priorities grant funding from United Way that would establish an interim project. It was accepted. But their proposal was accepted. They still have to go through the application process, but the funding start date wouldn't be until July 1st. So the project does still need $150,000 in gap funding from March 16th to June 30th. I want to just note here, so given that this amount represents operating funding mostly, accessing it will depend on whether the capital expenditures that are otherwise being proposed move forward. We've already hit, I think most folks are aware, we are the reason that the unspent funding is largely limited to capital costs is because we've hit our public services cap. As we increase capital spending, our opportunity to increase public service spending. So at the end of all of this, I'm hoping that we're able to do the $150K in gap operations funding. Again, it aligns with our most recent consolidated plan goal 2. The operations and the capital are eligible. The regulatory references and the matrix codes are linked in the plan. There's a couple of things that I would want to confirm with, I'm assuming at this point it would be Paul Nelson in the planning department, relatives to his expertise with the CDBG. They have some capital costs that I think would be considered eligible as installation expenses. I just would like his confirmation on that. Family Enrichment Network is the second project that is identified in the spend down plan. They have an elevator at their 249 Washington Street site that needs to be replaced to restore accessibility to all of their programming. They purchased 249 Washington Street, which is right to the left if you're looking at the old City Church property across from Old Barn. They purchased it in 2024 and made significant upgrades and renovations. They have a lot of safety codes to meet because of their contracts with Office of Children and Family Services, State Education Department standards, et cetera. They opened the site in spring 2025, but the elevator failed shortly after, and it remains inoperable. So they did submit for FY52 CDBG funding. For the most part, I avoided contacting current applicants so as to not disrupt the existing CDAC discussions. But this was something that Family Enrichment Network was involved in one of our other planning committee conversations, reached out to express the critical urgent need. Very specifically, they said program operations continue at their site, but they need to ensure accessibility for those with mobility challenges, which is a high percentage of the folks they serve. There's a total project cost breakdown here of $224,999. 30% or $67,000 would be spent at award. Another $112,000 would be spent 12 weeks after that. So if the contract agreement is made by February 1st, we would be looking at April 19th, and then the remaining $45,000 would be spent at completion, which would be 10 weeks later. So that's before the end of June. Again, I've identified the goals that the project aligns with from the consolidated plan. There are 4 goals that they align with, and the eligibility regulatory references are included. They are already recipients of CDBG funding. So public services specifically, so they're very familiar with reporting requirements, would have no issues acclimating. The third, and I'm actually only going to introduce 4 of the priority projects because there's 6 or 7, or talk through them, although you can ask about any of them. The third project that is identified as a priority and an option for spend down funding is the purchase of security cameras and installation of a security system at Woodburn Court. The Binghamton Police Department completed a safety assessment, and the crime prevention team report itself was completed in early November. It was presented to Woodburn Court Property Management. The mayor's office did not share the outcomes of the assessment or the information in the report with council members, but I've been meeting with Woodburn Court residents, over 30 of them at this point since midsummer, and the most consistent priority request has been the installation of interior and exterior security cameras for their own safety. Those are eligible activities under CDBG capital funding. So the Assistant Director of Operations at Woodburn Court sent me 3 bids for security cameras that they received. Kind of the middle bid is right around $70,000, but all 3 are listed. And then she confirmed that the project could be completed immediately upon award. The only question mark I have on this one is whether the owners of Woodburn Court could execute the contract agreement directly, or if we would need to do a developer or contractor agreement or arrangement. I'm not sure if that would be preferred according to the planning department. So again, a couple of details to talk through. And I would imagine they would need an orientation to the reporting requirements. And then finally, the 4th one that I want to represent, although there are at least 7 included, Broome County Urban League is in the process of moving an affordable housing development project forward. They have secured $300,000 from DASNY for 4 of the 6 units that they intend to rehabilitate, and estimate between $100,000 and $150,000 needed to complete the final 2. Their project completion date for the full rehab is August 31st, but they confirmed that any allocated amount from the city could be spent as priority.
Can you remind me where that project is?
I'm not sure if I know where that
Okay.
project is.
No problem.
It's in there.
That's
They-
Jen if you want. Do you want me to ask? her?
Sure, so she sent I don't think the address is in the proposal that they outlined. Nope. Other than confirming that they are within the city of Binghamton.
Okay. I'll ask her.
Just to wrap up the presentation, there are two specific economic empowerment programs proposals that were submitted by two faith-based groups, Trinity AME Zion and Greater Faith and Deliverance, to support in many ways the good community work that they're already doing. And then Broome County Urban League, in partnership with Just Breathe Tomorrow, had another proposal that they discussed with me when we met about the affordable housing project. I did, planning committee members, the notes are in the plan, but we met with the recipients of COC funding in November, specifically on the 21st, just given the fact that the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity that was issued by HUD in early fall, significantly impacts permanent housing, whether it's units, whether it's budgets, whether it's programming for those units. So there have been a number of legal updates since that meeting. Initially, our conversation was just any way that those COC providers could consider to submit a request for CDBG capital dollars that would offset the cuts that are otherwise happening as a result of the NOFO. The NOFO was stalled over the break. There was a preliminary injunction in late December that restored a prior NOFO and ordered renewal contract processing, but no obligation of funds. That's still, there was another NOFO issued on Friday. I've not read through it. So this is in there just to identify that those cuts are still anticipated. I followed up with the COC providers. They're still a bit much too uncertain to actually do full contingency planning and identify options, but that is in here. And then also included in the plan are the previously submitted spend down considerations, the proactive code rehabilitation assistance with notes on correspondence that I've had with a handful of landlords about that. And then the Affordable Housing Development Modernization Fund. In light of modernization for public housing sites being an eligible activity, I did reach out directly to Binghamton Housing Authority and Metro Interfaith to let them know that we were having spend down conversations and trying to support the planning department in identifying options. I did not receive a response with requests from either.
Did you contact executive directors or the board
It was
directly,
the
or?
president of the board
Okay, thank you.
directly.
It's great. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, well, so we have already scheduled a finance committee meeting for Thursday. So I would like to kick this to that meeting. I think that's the plan. Just to the spend down of CDBG funds because of the nature of the funds, because the fact that they, so many of them go out to subrecipients and projects that might not get off the ground, things that don't get finished, et cetera. This has been a repeated issue for the city, and I'm sure it is for many municipalities across the country. They build up over time. And it's this is not the first time Binghamton's been in this kind of this similar position. And the funds are in the financial reports we get every quarter that are on are on Basecamp. You can look back and see the years that they've built up. Obviously, the timeliness declaration from HUD kind of caused all of us to start focusing on this issue, which is good. We need to resolve it and come up with a plan. I think there's been parallel planning going on, which ideally would have been kind of unified planning, but I think there's been planning going on in the administration and in the planning department, and there's been planning going on in our planning committee. So we have the proposals from Councilwoman Rathmel tonight based on a lot of the work that she's done in the last month and a half. And
Longer than that.
well, I mean, since meetings in November, so whatever, but yes, but over the course of several months. And the mayor and planning department have, I think, a similar set, maybe even some overlapping ideas. So I think the plan for Thursday is to have a meeting of the minds, hash this out, come up with a spending plan that is hopefully enthusiastically acceptable to the council and the mayor, and is efficient and beneficial to the city. That's my hope. So moving these funds out of their original budget lines, out of the original projects, is going to be a amendment to those year's annual action plans. I believe HUD is going to consider them significant amendments. That's going to require 30-day public notice of the changes, and is going to require city council mayoral agreement, as they do for the original HUD action plans. So this is a situation where we're going to have to find common ground, and we have a common purpose, I think, and we have to find common ground and common methods to execute that vision. And I humbly hope that we can do that on Thursday. Because the ball needs to get rolling, funds need to get spent.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's going to most importantly help the city of Binghamton. I mean, like I said, thank you so much for this, and everything that you named in here is going to help out a lot of nonprofits that need it. Not only nonprofits, but organizations in the community that really need the help. And I think especially what's going on nationally, we need to kind of really find other ways if we can help out organizations and people in the city of Binghamton. This is very helpful. So thank you again.
Sure. I think I would just add, at least at this point, it's my understanding that amendments to action plans are required if there are substantive changes to priorities or new activities. And the priorities and activities should align. We can certainly talk through on Thursday if amendments are needed, but that's my understanding.
Based on my research into this would require amendments to change the projects, essentially. So, but we can investigate. We've been working without our full-time internal HUD person, and we've just gotten back our federal HUD rep that we've been working with. Things have been a little chaotic, but we have our kind of the rep that's been around for a while back. So hopefully we'll be able to get some clarification as well before Thursday. So anyway, I would motion that all this goes to committee, if we need a motion.
Again,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is just a motion to send it to the planning committee?
Yep, no,
Okay.
finance for Thursday.
Finance.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't, do we have to vote on that? Oh. We have to vote on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can motion it in.
I'll just
or-
motion to send it to the to the finance committee. Does anybody else have any questions? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Finance committee's an open meeting, and it's on, we'll be, do we stream it? Yes, we'll be open meeting and streamed, so come and participate, council members, if you want.
As long as you're not planning to conference somebody in externally,
No,
then it's streamed.
I think
Yes.
we're okay, yeah. All right. 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay.
All right.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
A motion and a second.